Stay tuned for today's antidote, brought to you by the Renegades Success Network. Today's antidote features a healthy dose of thought-provoking insights and information for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and nonprofit professionals. Each day since March of 2020, this program has offered that one thing to help you continue on your own unique pathway to success. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
Hey, Tom. Happy, what's today? Tuesday.
Thank you. Good morning to you as well.
Let's get right at it.
Okay, why not?
Well, all right. You know what? I wasn't going to talk about this, but I'm really upset this morning, Tom. I don't know if you saw the news yesterday, but Time Magazine picked their Man of the Year. I really thought you or I, because of all this Renegade stuff, we had to be finalists. Instead, they picked this guy. Have you ever heard of this guy? Elon Musk. I mean, come on. It doesn't even sound like a good name. What's he do? So I read the article because I'm curious about what's so great about him. You know what he did? Sent a couple of people up into space so they could float around, and then they came back. Big deal.
You need a new publicist.
I feel like we do. We do.
Well, I haven't really been pitching that, but I know that for Sexiest Man Alive, you were sending your people up to New York to try to pitch you.
I was. And I thought those life-size cutouts of me all over New York would have done it. You know, me in various poses of going, do.
Or LinkedIn Live.
LinkedIn Live!
Probably won you a lot of votes, I bet. Elon Musk, huh? Man.
Yeah.
Did they announce the Woman of the Year?
If you had won, I would have felt good for you. If I had won, I would have felt good for me. Really good for me. Would have been the recognition I so desperately crave. But Elon Musk, not so. He's vanilla to me. What's he done?
Oh, I don't know. Didn't he create a car called Tesla?
Big deal. They had cars.
That's true.
Did they have the Renegade Success Network? No, we created that. Did they gather 1,100 people who are focused on carving their own unique pathway to success? No, he didn't do that. Car, space, been there, done that. We did something new, Tom. We should have been Men of the Year.
Well, I didn't have anybody pitching for me, so I'm not surprised it wasn't me. But we did have people pitching for you, so I'm disappointed. All
right.
We need new people.
So it just means I have to double up and work harder for next year.
I guess so. There is always next year.
Yeah, that's it.
So you ought to do that test, like what went well, didn't go as planned, and what would I do differently so you're better prepared for next year.
Okay. It's good. I will do that in my spare time. That might be a really fun video.
And you should send it to Time Magazine.
Yeah. You mean they're not watching this?
They could be. It's hard to tell. You never know.
All right.
Never know. All right. So maybe we should get started, or else they'll wonder, do we really have a show, or do we just get on here and chit chat, which is possible.
Wouldn't that be a show in and of itself?
It would. I don't know how many people would watch it or listen to it. Maybe there'd be a lot. Maybe, I don't know. There's some crazy things on TikTok and Twitter and whatever that a lot of people pay attention to that don't make a whole lot of sense. So who knows? Maybe we're barking up the wrong tree. We should just get on here and chit chat about things like Elon Musk being Man of the Year, and maybe we would have more attention. I don't know.
Well, New Year coming, maybe that's it.
Maybe as we do our own evaluation of the show, we'll decide, you know what, time to shift gears. We'll see.
My sister joins us this morning with her celebration, so she's getting ahead of us, Tom. Good morning, Tom and Bob. I'm celebrating watching two funny guys to make me laugh as I eat my breakfast. Have a great day.
See, now, why do you need to be
must be watching some program on TV.
well, no. That's the love language that you like, so you should appreciate that. As you
very kind of her. Very kind. Made my day.
And if you have that, why do you need Time of the Year times Man of the Year? What could be more valuable than that comment? Is Elon Musk getting that every day?
Probably not.
There you go. So, you know.
Of course, he has his own scent. See, I would like a scent.
You
If
probably
you go and buy deodorant, you can buy Musk scent.
Does that really fit in with your business plan?
It doesn't.
Do leaders need the scent? I don't know.
I was just going with the
Bob.
joke, so.
Fair enough. All right, everyone. Welcome to today's antidote, or whatever it is we're doing today. As you may or may not know, this is our daily podcast and broadcast where we have a conversation around a topic and we then provide our one thing. So if you have one thing you'd like to share as we go through this, or other thoughts or ideas, please feel free to put it in the comments like this. Brother of the Year. Who needs Time Magazine? I wholeheartedly agree, Beth. Time Magazine. Does anybody read a magazine anymore? Who cares?
Okay, that's fair.
Right?
But it would be really cool to see my picture or our picture at the grocery store. I would go to the local drugstore, the grocery store. I would go to all those places just to see me looking back at me, which sounds like a Counting Crows line. I think it is from one of their songs. Mr. Jones.
For me, that would be creepy. I think I'd be like, oh my God, why is my face all over these magazines?
Well, if my face was Time Man of the Year, I would think that would move me towards Sexiest Man Alive.
I'm not sure the two necessarily have any correlation. Maybe they do. I don't know. Don't know enough about the process. So we'll have to work on that. Okay. A project for our plans. So as you know, or you know, not everyone else knows, that's something you would wish for, right?
Right.
So if that's something you would wish for, or if others out there have things that they wish for 2022, a great thing to do would be come to our workshop that is happening on December 27th, or we're going to repeat it on January 4th, where we're going to help you get better prepared for those things you desire in 2022. And we're going to take you from I wish to success the Renegade way. So we hope that you will join us. We'll have more information about that in this comments, I think. Some point during the day, or you can go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com, go to programs and search for, and it'll just pop up, find success the Renegade way, from I wish to success the Renegade way. So now that Bob has posted that in the comments, we can keep moving forward. And the way we start every show, outside of spending 8 minutes talking about almost nothing, is celebrating. So Bob, what are you celebrating today?
I'm going to celebrate the incredible skills of the people I'm surrounded by. I am amazed each day at what people around me can do with things that I suggest, with ideas, with thoughts. They turn ideas into amazing things. And I see it time and time again. And I don't always stop to like, wow, that really is amazing. But there are people that are just great at making things happen, from the craziest of ideas, the simplest of things, and then they go off and do something great. And the example I give is someone Jessica Vallis, who has Hartford Designs, did a web page for a project I'm working on. And really, she made it really concrete, really crystallized it with some really good graphics that did a whole lot of work. So just amazing to me what people can do when we give them the opportunity to really rely on their skill set.
Rather than taking our own time to try to figure it out?
Yes, correct.
Turning to somebody who actually has skills in that area to let them leverage those skills more effectively?
I'm learning the lesson.
That's an important lesson to learn. An important lesson for everybody to learn is that sometimes we can't do it all. So that's a great celebration. Thank you for sharing that.
And in this case, I was forced into it, believe it or not. I wanted to take care of it myself. And
shocking.
Yes.
That doesn't surprise me whatsoever.
There you have it. What are you celebrating, Tom?
Well,
if
I'm
I can have my voice crack like a 16-year-old. Sorry about that.
I'm celebrating that. I hate to say this because I know you're going to get offended, there's this other group of people who I gather with occasionally as kind of a mastermind.
What?
I know.
My mind isn't masterful enough for you?
It's a
You
different
need
perspective.
other minds to be masters?
Well, it's just a different perspective. It's a group of people who we went through a common experience with. And so I value, just like I value your feedback and thoughts and ideas, I value theirs. And yesterday we went through kind of a review of this year and a plan for next year. And so while I didn't spend as much time on it as I would have liked, because I knew there's a whole lot more and I would have to spend time with you talking about what are we going to do next year. And at the same time, I was able to put that together, and it was just a good way to celebrate everything that has happened. And as I was going through that process, I was thinking about the things that went well, but didn't go as planned. And it helped me really think about what would I do differently next year. And it was nice to be able to put that down on paper and then share it with others. Again, one of the things that I think is so vital to accountability is, one is to write it down, take it out of your head, get those wishes out of your head and get them down on paper, and then determine what you're going to do to get there. So it was just a good example and a good exercise for me to go through to at least start thinking about what's 2022 going to look like, because it's getting to be about that time.
I'm going to try to control my sadness that I wasn't involved, but proceed. Oh, it's my turn, isn't it?
It is. What is the world celebrating today, Bob?
It is National Cocoa Day.
Like hot cocoa or just cocoa in general?
It's National Cocoa Day, but I think it's best hot. Cold cocoa is hard to say.
It's chocolate milk, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes. So do you like yours with whipped cream on it? Do you like yours with little marshmallows, big marshmallows, all the above?
I'm not a big hot liquid person.
Wow.
Except for a bath. I do like a good bath. I'm just not, there's something about soup.
Oh, I just have this picture of you with your little bubble bath and your Harlequin romance.
Hot tubs are other good places for hot water. So that's where it's funny because I like sometimes I've learned that it has some health values is to have green tea at night before I go to bed. And so usually about 2 hours before I go to bed, I microwave the water and I put in the tea bag. And then an hour and a half later, I'll drink it when it's cooled down. And I like hot cocoa. And marshmallows are okay. I find whipped cream is my preferred method of having hot cocoa.
Okay. I like it with the little marshmallows, the mini marshmallows, and you can't have too many of those.
What if it overflows the cup?
Then you just eat the marshmallows while you're waiting for it to cool down.
Okay. Fair enough.
And have you ever had dark chocolate hot cocoa?
Yes, I have.
Oh,
you love dark chocolate, so you don't like milk chocolate, so I can understand that.
Yes. That is the quintessential. Yes. And of course, I'm lactose intolerant, so I'm having it with almond milk or soy milk or one of those milks, but it can be done.
Can you find that when you go out to a place to get hot chocolate?
Yeah, if you go to a Starbucks, they can do that.
Okay. It's interesting. Hot chocolate is so, I guess one of my little guilty pleasures is I do like watching Hallmark movies. And the Hallmark movies, at the holidays especially. And the Hallmark movies, if there is not hot chocolate had, it's not a Hallmark holiday movie. So,
and if they haven't baked cookies.
Correct. Baked cookies. Yeah, there are the traditional things.
Yes,
absolutely.
Yes.
So cool. Hot cocoa is
National Cocoa Day. Yeah.
Is it actually the drink or is it the bean that is being celebrated?
It's the drink.
It is the drink. Okay.
Yes.
Good to know. Good to know. All right. Well, hopefully you all have something that you are celebrating today. If you'd like to share that in the comments, we'd love to hear it. That'd be great. And now let's move on to our topic this week, which has been valuing others' hour. So last week we talked about valuing our own hour. And, we had a good conversation yesterday, a long conversation about meetings and how to value other people's hours as it relates to meetings. And if you are struggling with that and didn't get a chance to listen to it, I would highly suggest that you go back and listen to episode 469. And because I think there's some good nuggets in there for you to consider as you think about meetings. So today we're going to move into another method, which is email. Probably could include text, I would assume, although maybe not. Because I think there are lots of opportunities in those written communications that we can think differently about. So do you want to kick us off with a conversation, Bob?
Sure. My number one pet peeve.
Oh, here we go.
Reply all.
Okay.
That is one of the single most annoying things in the world. I get some reply alls for things that, I just don't need to know, especially when the jokes start flowing and they're private jokes and they're reply all. I've got work to do, so I'm very careful about reply all. I don't reply all to grandstand, to show how marvelous I am, to show how quickly I can respond to email, to show that I'm on top of things more than anyone else in the group. I do a reply all when literally everyone needs to know my response. That's very, very, very rare, really. And I find that the less I do that, the less I reply all, the better my email is. Because once you reply all, you open the door to everyone else replying all. And then you have a chain of 18 emails about something silly that's okay. There's got to be a more efficient way. And when you talk about texting, Tom, I think texting actually polices itself pretty well because it's harder to text. You're using your thumb, or if you're like me, you're using your index finger, and it's very slow to create the messages. And I think by its own nature, it keeps them more confined.
Have you watched young people use text?
I have. I marvel at it.
They're not slow, I don't believe.
No, but they're also very to the point, right? That there's even a new language.
Yes.
Right? Like my wife and I will send a message and it will just be the letter K, which means, okay, I got it.
Really?
And yeah.
Okay. I learned something today.
But why go through all that?
Fair.
And I think that's one of the things. I think email, we think of email as real estate that you don't pay for. So you can use it. You can go out there, put your tent out on it. You can park your RV. You can have a party out there and there's no cost. What I try to think about is every sentence I write in an email has a value. Does this help the other person? And I've done a workshop with some people, with some groups on the 3-sentence email. Why are you writing this? What do you need? When do you need it?
Makes sense.
And it can be really straightforward. And I find often when I write long emails, and I would argue any email that's more than about 3 paragraphs is long, people aren't going to read it. I have a client who, if you send more than a sentence, he literally checks out. Hey, did you see my email we talked about? No. Why not? I don't read long emails. And as we read emails on our phones more, I think it's even more important to make them brief and to the point. And so I think that's where we value someone else's time. What do we need from an email? And I would also go back to, when is it hiding behind an email when a phone call could be more effective?
That's an interesting point in that is, and I think that's, maybe we'll talk more about that later in the week. I forget, but the thing with phone calls always is, if I'm truly thinking about valuing someone's hour, and I haven't scheduled the call, I do think about I'm interrupting them in the middle of something.
But they're not required to answer the phone. Tom, if I call you at 10:06 this morning, you're in the middle of something, what do? You let it go to voicemail.
So
and then when you get free later, you call me back and go, hey, Bob, I saw you called earlier.
How's that any different than sending an email?
I just think a lot of people hide behind emails.
Oh, I don't disagree. And
But,
I think that
like I'm a firm believer. If you've got to give bad news, do it over the phone or in person. Do not, I'm really sorry to tell you that you lost 20% of your salary this year because you were late 4 times. That's not content for an email. And I know some leaders who have used email to deliver negative messages because it's easier for them.
Sure. There's no doubt. And I think that's part of it. And I think that's part of goes into, I think what you started with is, what's the reason behind the email? And I feel like it's also one of the things that sometimes I struggle with is people who need an answer immediately and send it via email.
Yeah.
Because, there's the assumption, I think there is out there the assumption that people, if you don't reply to an email within minutes, you
might be dead.
Or you're not being attentive to them,
Yes.
that you don't value where they are. It's funny. I remember this conversation when email, I think, was just coming out. And I think it was out for a little while because now people have Blackberries. This is how old it was. People were using Blackberries. And I was talking to somebody who was from New York City.
And for you young people, Blackberries are not the fruit.
True.
They were a very primitive phone that allowed you to actually text. Text, send emails. Couldn't text. You were
right. At
you
the
were
time,
able to type through email. Yes.
They were high tech at the time. Because you could
remember when Obama became president and they wouldn't let him keep his BlackBerry?
Yes.
Because of security issues. So that was what, 2008?
Yes. Well, and the feeling was that people had to have BlackBerries because they had to be able to respond. And the thought that this person shared with me in New York, if you didn't respond to an email within an hour, you weren't paying attention to people. And I think that goes back to valuing someone else's hour is, one of the benefits of email is you can send it. And again, especially if you're sending something that you realize I might not get an immediate answer to, or I'm not expecting an immediate answer, then it's okay. Because I think to assume that people are sitting there waiting to get the notification, oh, there's my email, and they're just going to respond right away, I think is not valuing someone's hour. And I think that that's something for us to consider how we use the different tools that we have, like email or text. And it's also, I think, with text, yes, it's sort of policing email. And I sometimes find it when do I stop responding? Like I was in a text exchange with somebody yesterday, and they sent me.
Was this one of the people in your other mastermind group, the really cool people?
No.
Okay.
Someone I was doing some business
I'm
with.
not bitter.
Never. Which was why I led that whole story off with, I'm not sure I really want to share this because I know where this is going. And so anyhow, he sent a note. He had a question about something. I responded. And he responded back with, something was like a cute, whatever. It was kind of that different language. I responded back. And then I got to the point where all right. And he responded back. And I'm like, how long do we have to go on and do this? What is my responsibility I've answered his question. I responded to a funny little thing. And I get it. You don't talk to somebody that often. And, having those interactions is interesting and fun sometimes. And when do you feel like you have to stop? An email can be the same, especially if someone is responding right away. You're like, okay, how often do I have to say thanks? They thanked me. I thank them. Well, they thank me for thanking you. And I think some of that is good for us to consider is like, okay, at what point is enough and I am no longer valuing somebody's hour?
And your own.
And your own, correct. Right. It goes to both sides of that is at what point have this stopped adding value to what was going on so that each of us can move forward. And I think that's it's kind of like email chains. You can get to, by the time you get done with it, and usually it's when you include a lot of people, That's the thing. That's the thing I would say is that if you have information you want to get, don't reply all. Send it back to the person, unless it is a group of people who really need it. Like group texts, the worst.
Oh yeah.
Worst.
Yeah.
Because it just encourages reply all. It actually is reply all. You can't even opt out of that. You don't even have any other options. And so I think that it's all of those things is us thinking, I think being considerate of the person we're sending to it, and also thinking about, I guess it saves our time because we can send one message to everyone. And if they can just respond, and they do, to one person back to you, that's fine. If they respond to everybody and that's not necessary, it becomes a huge waste of time.
Can I give one more pet peeve?
Give as many as you want.
Subject lines. Make the subject line very specific to the situation. I like to think of it as, if this person was going to file this in a file cabinet, what would the title on that folder be? And that's what I name it, so that nothing's worse than it's like status update. And you have 500 status updates from 38 different projects, and you're looking for one. That's not very searchable. But, March 16th, Mars lander update. That's very specific. Then I could find it. And then I could look for Mars lander. I could look for March 16th. I think being very specific. And I would also argue that in teaching writing, if you know what a good subject line is, it's probably easier to write the email. That's a good starting point. Because if you don't know what that subject line should be, if it's just, hey, which I get routinely, a hey email, which is like, okay, great. That's really good. And I think subject lines more and more sell whether a person's going to read the email right away.
Absolutely. Someone once told me that subject lines draw open rates.
Oh, yeah.
And content draws click rates.
Yep.
So that there's a very, a definitely method and some common practices that people follow to have more effective use of email.
And it could work in the office as well.
Well, it makes it clear for what the point is, right? It helps you see, hey, is this something that if I have a moment I have to respond to now?
Right.
Or is this something that, okay, I can set this aside, and at the time when I choose to check my email, I can look at it, respond, and then move forward. And I think that's, there's nothing worse than a subject line that says urgent about something that you don't need to respond to.
Yes.
If it's urgent means, okay, if I see it, I'm going to definitely respond to it. And again, if I don't see it, it's hard. I do a lot of that with the lacrosse officiating. We get changes at 10 o'clock at night. I can't call or text everyone because I don't know that that's appropriate because they have to be up early, usually the next day. I think if you get people in the habit of knowing, okay, before I leave the house or before I do whatever, I need to just double check because that's the method of communication, then an urgent message can be beneficial. And again, just like crying wolf, if you say urgent too many times, people will stop paying attention to it. It won't seem as urgent.
With good reason.
Correct, because they're now not feeling like you're valuing their time of what truly is urgent.
So what's your one thing today, Tom?
My one thing about email, I would say I'm going to go back to the point I made about expecting an immediate response. Because I think that if you are sending an email and you expect an immediate response, unless you have, even if you've been back and forth with someone, doesn't mean that they haven't had something else to come up with. So I think if you're looking for that immediate response, that email is not necessarily the way to best value people's hour. That not everyone checks their email every day, and some people intentionally choose to only check it once in the morning or once in the afternoon, or they're in meetings or whatever the case might be. And I think when as a leader, we have the expectation that you should respond to every email. It's kind of both sides of the coin, right? Because the last thing we would want our team to do is to be sitting in a meeting of ours checking their email.
Sure.
And yet what we have set up is saying, hey, if I send you an email, I need you to respond. So if you're sitting in someone else's meeting, oh, by all means, go ahead and respond because I'm expecting that. And so I think to truly value other people's hour is to really think about what is the message you're sending, why are you sending it, and when you need a response.
I was going to say, my one thing would be really think about what the other person needs to deal with whatever it is as quickly as possible. If you need them to call you, that should be in the first sentence. If you need them to decide something, that should be in the first sentence. To put it near the bottom after a long explanation, they're going to check out and they're going to be like, I'll deal with this later. And
Sure.
The other thing is short and sweet is the way to go. Less is more with email and texting.
Which is interesting because a lot of emails I get are long. And, I think it's an interesting, I do agree. And I also feel like sometimes you have to get people into the information. Or if you have
depends
information,
what you're doing. If you're doing marketing, they tend to be long.
Or if you're responding to a question that might need to be long. I mean, I've sent long emails responding to a situation because people needed to know all the details
Right.
of the situation. And so I think that's
factoring in what's necessary
correct
for the situation.
Yes.
Absolutely. Someone asked me to make a change to something I wrote for them, and it was one sentence. Please change this one sentence. Changed one sentence, made a PDF, put it in the email, and said corrected and attached. That's all I needed to say. We didn't have to go through. I changed the font because it was a line longer, and so I had to shrink the font a little bit so it stayed on one page. That didn't matter.
Absolutely. Well, excellent. I like that. All right, everyone. If you have one thing you'd like to share or a pet peeve, we're always happy to hear pet peeves about emails that can add value. Well, I think it is helpful because if it's a pet peeve for you, there's likely it's a pet peeve for somebody else that maybe we're doing that we hadn't considered. And it'd be something for us to reconsider as we, again, try to value others' hour. So thanks so much for being with us today. We hope that you found value and information and enjoyed today's episode. If you would like to comment or be more involved in the conversation around this and other topics, please join our Ring of Renegades Facebook group. It's easy to do. Just go to Facebook, search for Ring of Renegades, and then ask to join because it is a private group. And all you have to do is tell us why you're a renegade. And you can become a part of this growing community that's helping people, leaders, professionals, take their next step along their own unique pathway to success. So with that, we look forward to seeing you inside the Ring of Renegades Facebook group, or we'll see you tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern time for our next edition of Today's Antidote. Have a great day, everyone.
Hey, embrace the renegading you and go drink some hot cocoa. Yum.
I would love to do that, but it's like 50 here in Baltimore. So I don't know that.
Is it really? It's only 43 where I am.
Well, it might not be yet, but it's headed that direction. So,
okay. All right.
So maybe I'll have some hot cocoa on hot cocoa.
Or tonight when it cools off. Little fire pit, little hot chocolate action.
It's not a bad idea.
Talking.
All right. Have a great day, everyone. Thanks for listening to Today's Antidote, powered by the Renegade Success Network. The Renegade Success Network helps you confidently create your own unique pathway to success. To learn more about the Renegade Success Network and how you can take your next step, follow us on Twitter, connect on LinkedIn, or join the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. For full details on how you can join our community, go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com. Embrace the renegade in you.